Welcome to another episode of The Power of Choosing.
Today's episode is about why we called our podcast The Power of Choosing.
I love it. So, why did we call this The Power of Choosing?
Because we have a choice in life, in everything. And it sounds so simple now. And so many people don't realize that they have that choice over everything they do. Every moment of your day is a choice. What you do, how you feel, how you live your life, who you surround yourself with, what you do as a job, what you do in your spare time, what you let your mind believe, everything is a choice.
It
And
is a choice.
yeah, and if I don't want to say make the right choices, but if we make choices that feel good for us, then we're so much happier than if we make choices that are more for other people's sake.
I know for me in my practice, a lot of times what I talk about is choose. Just choose. A lot of times, many get into decision fatigue, and being in decision fatigue, it's really just not making a choice. One of the things I talk about is choosing, and you can try it out. If it doesn't work out, then choose again. So keep choosing is a part of my own coaching. So choose is just essential to every decision.
Yeah, the opposite is not choosing, which is where you just go along with the life that has been decided for you, whether that's by your parents, your society, the people close to you. It looks a bit like, oh, you would be really good at XYZ. So you go along and do XYZ, whether that's like go to university or do a law degree or go into medicine because somebody said, oh, you'll be good at that, or this pays well, or that's a secure job. And you're in it and it's okay. And then at some point, it's not okay because you never chose it. And actually, it might not be for you.
I hear also which opposite of choose is default in the sense of just having a default life. So whether it is going for school or different opportunities for your career and so forth, it also is just regular everyday things. You are making default decisions and default choices rather than realizing like a conscious choice rather than the default. And so I love the title that we came up with as we weave through every single episode that we've done. That is something that keeps coming up is like choose, choose. And so choose is like so powerful because it puts us in control of our life. If you really want a life that you love, it starts with choice. It starts with choosing. It starts with all of those things. And so that's where the core and the essence of everything that we're talking about in our podcast has to do is making conscious choice.
That's so right. And it's the core of everything that we talk about because it's the difference between living this default, okay, meh, possibly hate burnout life to a life that feels in alignment, fulfilled, happy, joyful, a life of choice and design. And they're the differences. And we
Yeah.
say it's that simple. Join us in a life of choice where you're in charge, which can be scary, and it's the most rewarding and fulfilling way to live.
Yes.
Where this has come into play for me is I had this life of like going along with what everyone else thought would be good for me. And I went into sales because my dad was in sales and I enjoyed spending time with him growing up and being part of his business. And then I was good at it. So it made sense. So I did my degree. I then was applying for jobs and I had no idea what I wanted to do because I'd never stopped to think. So then the default was just go into sales. It makes sense. It's what you know, it's what you're good at. So then I moved to London and I was in sales and I was selling lighting, and actually, it was super fun. and I was young and it was easy and it worked out well. And it got to a point when the job wasn't working so well that I stopped to think, actually, I haven't chosen any of this. Everything I'd done was because of someone that I was hanging out with at the time, or my parents or society or whatever had said, do this thing. So I just went along like ignorantly blissful in like life was fine. And so when it came to thinking, okay, what do you actually want to do? It was completely unknown and it was scary because I'd never been there before. So I mean, even the becoming a life coach was because my friend started seeing a life coach and told me what it was. And I was like, that sounds just like me. So that's how I got my dream job. And I made the decision like, okay, this is for me. I'll quit my job and go for it. And since then, because I was a coach, I got coaching. I learned about this knowing yourself and choosing. And that was a turning point of like, okay, what do I actually want? So I looked back and some of the things that had been chosen for me were great and I kept them in my life. And some of the things weren't for me and I could let go of them. And that was the difference. So my life was good. And afterwards, I dropped everything that wasn't good. So my life became great.
I love it. What comes through in this is yes, there were choices that you made along the way, and yes, you chose things, but you really were aligning yourself to it. Being in alignment is the word I keep going to, but being in that space of really getting to the core of what's right for you. And that is a part of choice. So, like, the power of choosing is not always a big thing. It's just going along. I see it as this powerful thing where it's like you were like, oh, that sounds great. This life coaching thing, it sounds like exactly who I am. And then followed that. And it really does align to the essence of who you are and it embodies who you are. And so to me, that is a part of choosing is just making choices that align to you and what you want.
Yeah. So how's it come up in your life, the power of choosing?
So much as you were sharing yours, what I was seeing for me is going through what I did. Like, I never got, because my family passed away, I was never able and given the choice in those situations. And I remember there being a point in time where people have reflected back, oh, you're doing so well. And I always stated, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. And now looking back, that's not true. I did have a choice. And I do think someone pointed that out to me, but I did have a choice in that. And I chose myself, even not knowing what that meant at the time. And so I kept carrying forward every person that I lost in my family. And I was choosing to very scrappy, incredibly scrappy, find a life that I loved. And that was where choices played out for me. So I could have gone down a really different rabbit hole. I could have been I don't want to say depressed because sometimes people don't hear what I'm trying to say, but I could have been in a place where it was heavy for me. And not to say it wasn't heavy when I lost my family, it absolutely was heavy, but I could have gotten stuck there. And I didn't get stuck there. I kept moving forward. So that is the biggest place where I've seen choice in my life. Choosing, I moved across the country to start another chapter of my life and was very conscious when I made that choice was my life up until that point had been very grief driven, and I wanted to start a new chapter that didn't involve grief. And that led me to meeting my husband, to getting married, to all of these things. So there's been so many different choices in choosing for myself that I've had in my life. And so really going through that process has allowed me to really just be able to actually love my life. And talking to my former self, who was very heavy in the grief, I didn't love my life. And so choosing has happened throughout all of these periods of time.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think we can get into a place where we think we don't have a choice.
Yes.
And this concept of life isn't fair, life's happening to me, I don't
Yes.
have a choice. And we can see someone like you who has gone through so much and has chosen that this is going to be a part of me, but it's not going to define me. It doesn't mean that I have to live this heavy, like woe is me kind of life.
Hmm.
And that's the hard part, is to ignore what society wants to put on you. And that is, you've been dealt these cards, you have to live a certain way.
Yes. And not only society, which society is just one piece of it. As you were saying that, I was thinking for me, like the internal voices in my head of just, oh, it was very dark in there for many a year
Mm.
because I was doing that to myself. So, yes, society and my own self.
Mm.
And I think our listeners can really take a lot from that as well, in the sense that it's not always outside of you. A lot of it stems from inside first.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I say society as an umbrella term for all the voices that come from outside and inside that have shaped how you see the world.
Yes. Yes.
And everyone lives a very different life, and you don't always get to choose your life, but what you can choose is what you take from your life and how you move forward.
Hmm. Yes. How you show up is a big part.
Yeah.
And that is where your choice is I couldn't control my family dying, but what I can control is how I'm going to show up
Mm.
in absence of them being here. So it is one of those things, is like I couldn't control that, but I got to control everything. And I don't know why it's coming to me, but I'll talk about it anyways. Is I remember being at my mom's funeral. I don't know if funerals are the same in the UK, but at the funeral, it was very awkward. She was a teacher and she had all of these students that were coming to say their condolences, and I didn't know them. They didn't know me. It was super awkward. And there was one moment with the first child that came through. It was incredibly awkward. And I was like, okay, quickly internally, my thought was like, I can't continue this way because this is not going to be good for them. This is not going to be good for me. And I made a choice to kind of embody what my mom did. And I stepped into this role of like, oh, I'm a hugger and like, give me a hug and all of these things. And then play this, I call it a game, but played a game of like, tell me one great thing about my mom. And I had a split decision that I made that in. And what ended up happening was twofold. One, it took away the awkwardness immediately. And then secondly, it left me with a whole bunch of memories of how these children had touched my mom's life or my mom had touched their lives. And it just got to be this really great experience. And so choices can be made super quick in hard moments. And that's the power of choosing. I chose because I was like, ooh, that was awkward with the first
Mhm.
one, and move forward because I wanted this experience, even though it was challenging to everybody involved, to not be as challenging. And so, yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Again, thank you for sharing that. And it just shows, like, with the tools that we want to give you in this podcast, you can change how you react and how situations go.
Hmm. We want the listeners to know that we're committed with naming this and creating this as the power of choosing, that we are going to bring forward episodes of different ways that it shows up in different parts of your life of how to make choices. Not saying do it this way, but more so that you have choice and how it impacts your life. And so the name of the podcast, we're waiting several episodes in before we actually talk about this. And I think it took us a bit to even be able to really know, like we named it and we're like, cool, that's what we named it. And now we're really stepping into the space of we did choose this name. I love how I just used choose there, but we did choose this name as showing and like demonstrating how the power of choosing, and that is the point of our whole podcast, and we will keep referring back to that.
Yeah, and it really feels like the name chose us
It
because
did.
like having done like what 9 episodes, 10 episodes now, everything always comes back to this choice. And it's the idea that you're in the driving seat of your life. You are in control. Even if it doesn't feel like it, you are in control of your life. And you might not be able to immediately change your circumstances, but you can immediately change how you view your circumstances. And that's the
Absolutely.
key. So your life can change right now. It can change with 1 episode, it can change with 10 episodes. And the more that you listen to the different topics and the different bits of nuggets that we're going to be giving you, the more that it can become second nature. That, oh, yeah, obviously I'm in control. Obviously, I'm in charge of my life. I get to choose, I get to see things differently. And with all of that, that's when your life can just be completely different.
Yes. And hence the power of choosing.
Power.
So the
Yeah.
power, you have the power, and we want you to see that access. So thank you for coming along with us on this journey. We deeply appreciate it. And I look forward to more episodes.
Yeah. So that I got the power. I'm glad we're doing it because it's so important. Tell your friends. All right. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Power of Choosing.
On why we chose the name The Power of Choosing.